for the battered but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and we've got Kevin Wilson with us.
Howdy.
Hey Kevin, how's it going?
Oh, it's going all right. Living the dream.
Awesome. How was your Independence Day? We didn't get a chance to talk about
Yeah,
that.
no, we haven't caught up on that yet. Yeah, no, it was a good weekend. It was a solid weekend. Spent a ton of time outside, grilled some steaks, made some sourdough bread. It was a terrible weekend to make bread, but I jumped on that bandwagon very late, made some sourdough bread, turned out nice.
Now, is sourdough bread, is that the non-rising bread or the double baked bread? Somebody was telling me about it. Is that the one that takes like a really long time to make?
It does take a long time. You got to make like a yeast starter, and you got to feed it and keep kind of like keeping this bowl of like soupy flour alive and bubbling, and then you turn that into bread. So it's very good. It's like a sour tart bread. It's homemade.
Interesting.
But
So you said you feed it, like you give it like a little beer every day, or some crackers, or what do you?
some flour. You got to throw some flour in there.
Yeah. Nice. Very cool. So sourdough bread and steaks. That sounds great. Did you see family? Did you stay in the area?
No, I stayed in the area. The only outdoor activity I did kayaking. I went to Canandaigua Lake. It was a mess. There's just a million people there, but it's all right. It was a good time.
Nice. So while you were at the lake, tons and tons of people. Did we have social distancing, mask wearing? Were people wearing the masks while swimming? What would
No.
Tell me about it?
No one was wearing a mask while swimming, which is fine. Everyone's far apart. Who cares? You don't need to wear a mask in that situation. It's fine. Now, I don't know if everyone on the boats together was related to each other, living in the same household, not wearing masks. But that's their business, I guess.
Sure.
But outdoors, it's relatively low risk, no matter what, and that was fine. Went out there, did that, and yeah. I don't know. I like it. Again, you're outside. You're out to just, enjoying the outdoors. I don't really think you need a mask for that type of situation.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think probably at this point, many situations, if not most, there's probably no reason other than personal comfort to wear a mask. But that does make me think: can COVID transmit in the water? I mean, that's a question.
Oh, there's a story about it a few weeks ago.
Oh,
yeah.
wow! I just walked into that. Let's hear it, Kevin.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I read the headline. I'm not going to bother reading the whole article about that. Why would I inform myself? But there's a study that someone was trying to conduct to see if like beaches could be a conduit for spreading COVID-19, because what if it could live in the water for a while and people could swallow it? Even though, I mean, you think about like how big a lake is like this and how low of a chance it is for someone to, ingest water that someone had like sneezed into.
Yeah, I mean, chances are you probably got a better chance of ingesting water that somebody peed in, especially if it's
way
Lake
better
Ontario.
chance. What about you, Andrew? What was the highlight of your Independence Day weekend besides listening to the beautiful sounds of fireworks in the city?
Well, see, I wasn't in the city. I was in Allegheny County, down in the southern tier. But we still heard fireworks. It was great. We had an awesome bonfire, nice big fire in the back there. We had some fireworks. It was a good time. I spent the weekend sleeping in my hammock, so that was pretty nice. Went on a couple hikes, did a little bit of four-wheeling. We did have a helicopter fly over us at night, which was kind of interesting.
That's weird.
Yeah, it was weird, especially because there were some pretty big fireworks going off, like not where we were, but kind of in the general area. And I think it might have been one of the towns. I'm not really sure. But I wouldn't want to be flying a helicopter around with fireworks going off and stuff. I'm sure they were safe. I'm sure they felt fine, and obviously they were comfortable enough that they were doing it. But it doesn't seem like something I would have done.
Yeah, yeah, not with a helicopter. That seems kind of dangerous. But here in the city, I'm glad I didn't pay for any fireworks because there's a free show all around me. I didn't need
Was
to do
it?
anything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, like literally, my backyard's a park, just full commercial grade fireworks in my backyard going off. It kind of died down after midnight,
Did
but
it? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, it's
I mean,
it's pretty interesting. Some of the fireworks that I've seen that are clearly being purchased by individuals are pretty impressive, and I want to know, where do you get those fireworks from? Like,
the cops
what do
provided
they
them.
cost? I want. I
Andrew
want.
Andrew, the police provided them. Haven't you read?
Oh, man, I need to get on that list. That's a government list
I know,
wanna
right?
be on.
Where do
The
I
free fireworks list.
where do I sign up? Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I know. Most of those are coming in from Pennsylvania. People just driving down doing that. Even though we do have now a city council member in Rochester and a county legislature calling for the ban of all fireworks
Mm.
because, well,
Do you know
you
who
know,
those are off the top of
yes,
your
I
head?
do. Mitch
Yeah.
Gruber and Rachel Barnhart. I saw them post about that, and I'll see if I can find the status and share it because they said, well, we gotta ban all fireworks because everyone can't be getting these from Pennsylvania. They must be getting some of the stuff that they're selling legally here, so we need to crack down on it more. We need to ban all fireworks in Monroe County.
Mm. It's funny because the reason fireworks came back into New York State is the government realized how much tax money they were losing by not allowing the sale in New York State. And those two elected officials in particular are always talking about how they need more government funding, more of their fair share, and some of the other stuff. So they're literally talking about turning the hose off and cutting the cash flow down even more, especially at a time when the government probably shouldn't be so picky and choosy about where their money's coming from.
Yeah, right.
Good.
And on top of that, like the big giant fireworks that sound like bombs going off, those aren't the ones they're selling in the Walmart parking lots. That's not what that is. Like I bought some from a Walmart parking lot. I bought like we call them like jumping jacks, right? They go
Mm.
and they light up and that's it. Or they shoot off sparks on the ground. They're not the ones making the big booms. That's
Yeah.
people getting those. Their theory is that there couldn't possibly be enough of a robust illegal market for that many fireworks to be going off. But have you seen any of the sky views of cities around the country of fireworks going off?
No,
They had
I
one.
haven't.
Oh, they had one of Rochester, but there's a time lapse. I'll see if I can find that one too. But there's one of L.A. that's unreal, and it's not a time lapse. It's a live view, and literally hundreds of massive fireworks going off every second.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, and I think you said something kind of important there. You said that they don't believe that the black market is that prevalent. Is that what you said? Because if that's the case, I'd
That
like to
is.
point them to the heroin overdoses and everything else that we're having in the city of Rochester, and kind of look back at them scratching my head saying, "You think that the black market isn't that readily available?" I
No,
don't
where
know.
where there's a demand, someone will come up with a supply. People like fireworks. People think fireworks are fun. I mean, not everyone, but some people think fireworks are fun, and they're willing to pay for them. So people are willing to go out and get them.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so, yeah, and then the only thing making them the small fireworks more illegal will be to provide an excuse for police to be able to stop and investigate people in the neighborhoods that they are allegedly trying to defend. It's going to
yep.
create more bad police interactions.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's interesting too, seeing the neighborhood groups talking about the issue of fireworks because, yeah, in some areas, I guess it's pretty disruptive. Where I am, I don't know, maybe I'm just sleeping through it, and my dogs don't care. But usually what I do when I get a dog, after they get comfortable with the environment, I take them to the range with me so they get used to those type of noises. So my dogs will sleep right through it.
Yeah.
But I know other people, they have dogs who are, very scared. I know people are having trouble sleeping. And it would be really interesting to see what type of solutions neighborhood groups can come up with that doesn't involve government force and doesn't involve the police coming in and fining people. I think there's merit to a noise ordinance, especially with a non-aggression, principle. The idea that your enjoyment shouldn't be like infringing on somebody else's enjoyment. So I think there's some good libertarian answers and options out there. I don't know that they necessarily have to be police force. But I could be persuaded that there could be something there as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like it does impose a a cost on other people when you're setting off fireworks, right? Like it is disturbing. It can hurt your animal, or not hurt your animals, but it can drive them nuts, and sometimes they do hurt themselves in that process. Like I get why people get upset about fireworks, but I don't think that government's always the solution to that. I think we could figure out something new.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, guys, we're going to take a brief break here. We're going to be back on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Catch a wave at Waldameer.
Waldameer is now open daily. However, due to COVID-19 restrictions, Waldameer's limited to 50% capacity, so they're sorry, but there will be no free admission. Guests must purchase admission tickets in advance at waldameer.com. No tickets will be sold at the park. Children under 1 are free. Waldameer has taken steps to comply with the COVID-19 state regulations to keep guests safe. Therefore, masks will be required in the amusement park. Waterworld opens at 11 a.m. with the incredible new 6-lane Rally Racer water slide, and Waldameer opens at noon with the exciting new Whirlwind spinning family coaster. So let's celebrate going green. Visit waldameer.com. Purchase your admission tickets and get outside and play.
Catch a wave, catch a day at Waldameer. Your wet and wild summer getaway. Excitement waits for you at Waldameer. Waldameer in Erie, PA.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We've got Kevin Wilson here with us, and we're just kind of wrapping up a discussion about 4th of July, fireworks, they're bothering people, elected officials that don't think that the black market is just that good, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh,
You get whatever you want on the black market.
yeah,
Come on.
it's just so surprising to me that I would say elected officials, but I'd say probably anybody who thinks that the black market is difficult to access, but then maybe pushes really hard for the war on drugs or pushes for some sort of thing that's illegal to have stricter punishment. And it's like, but you don't think that the black market is thriving. How do you think these people got access to this stuff to begin with that's already illegal? So,
Free markets find a way. They always do.
yeah.
So it is. It's, I mean, that's what black market is. It's operating outside of the approval of government. That's what it is. So fireworks, yeah. If you want them in the city of Rochester, ain't that hard to get. Really ain't.
Apparently not, based
No.
on all the posts in the Facebook groups I'm seeing.
Oh yeah, no, people are freaking out. And again, I kind of get it. I'm sympathetic. I'm lucky. My dog is totally cool with fireworks. He doesn't care. You know, he gets upset when, you know, people set him off in the park next to the house, but that's about it. But I think it's more like he doesn't like people making a bunch of noise in the park at night.
Sure,
But-
that makes sense. So over the weekend, it sounds like you went to a BLM rally as well, right? That was this weekend?
So I did. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff going on. Like there's one on 4th of July. I think it had a name that I can't say on the radio, but there's one then. I didn't go to that one, and it was a cookout, I guess. And I was
okay.
like, that seems fun, but also like if you're concerned about COVID-19 being in a large group of people eating food, seems like it violates social distancing rules. But you know, what do I know? I'm not a doctor. How do I know? But stayed away from that one. The one I did attend was it started at Cobb's Hill in Rochester and it crossed over into Brighton, and it was a Black Lives Matter rally related to education, discrimination, and segregation. And so, you know, there's activists there talking about how Rochester and the city school districts that surround it are some of the most segregated school districts in the country. Which is, you know, you can look that up. That's true. Rochester has, like, I think 5 of the 10 top most segregated school districts in the United States, according to several lists from people who are concerned about that thing.
And just out of curiosity, so when we're talking about segregation, are we talking about students, diversity in staff? What is, like, how are they defining those?
In this case,
those things?
they're defining it as students,
Okay.
where the city of Rochester schools tend to be, not always, but often are predominantly black and are underperforming. And then over these town lines, like in Brighton or a little bit further out in Pittsford, they tend to be predominantly white and tend to perform a lot better and tend to have a larger tax base to, they say, pull resources to be able to fund the activities of the school.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So they're saying, you know, and the schools with the minorities have a lower income tax base and get less, we'll call it advantages, less funds. And then when you step into the suburbs, they have, you know, wealthy people who are paying higher taxes. And it's predominantly white people with access to more money. Is that a good
Right.
summary?
So that's a good summary. Although in Rochester, we should keep in mind that the school taxes come in part from the state instead of all the funding coming from the property tax base by itself. It's more like the funding comes from the state, and then city council and the mayor have to approve that funding, and the school board has to approve that funding. But it kind of, the big 5 districts, of which Rochester is one, comes from the state. So that's a way of doing it. And Rochester, of course, spends a ton per student.
They do.
So,
Yeah.
and
They
we've thought
spend more per student than I think any district. It might be in the state, if I
Yeah.
recall. So they average out, I think it's about $28,000 a year per student. And I think Pittsford, because I think I saw the numbers recently, is significantly lower at the cost of, I think, like $13,000 a student, or maybe it was $15,000. Might have been Brighton, one of those two.
Yeah. So this march was, again, going from Rochester into Brighton to kind of point out the arbitrary lines that divide communities and divide school districts that perform very, very differently across a short span of space, right? And they correctly pointed out, and I think that I think it's correct to point out that the school districts in the area are very segregated, and they correctly pointed out that this was a consequence of intentional government intervention to create segregation decades ago. That it wasn't something that just happened, it was something that was intentional, where suburbs and school districts made it very, very difficult for African American families to move to those areas, and realtors often wouldn't show or sell houses in those areas, and oftentimes there were legal covenants preventing houses in the suburbs and some neighborhoods in Rochester from selling to people who were black, and that was all endorsed and enforced by the government. And other things like zoning laws also helped create some of that too. So they correctly pointed out that this was a problem that was largely created by government, and that these school district lines are a way of reinforcing a sense of racial hierarchy that was dominating the government, throughout the 20th century. So, what's their solution to that, though?
We know. Come on. More government, Kevin.
More government.
The only way to fix bad government is to put more government on top of it and spend more money.
Yeah. No, that's
sarcasm.
That's pretty much...
For anybody who's listening right now and who may not be familiar with my point of view, that is sarcasm.
Yeah. No. But that's kind of what it ended up being, right? And of course, there were great speeches by particularly some of the children there who talked about their experiences with racism in the suburban school districts. Young children made to feel conscious of their skin color because of the students and the teachers around them. And that's something absolutely we need to work to address. Children shouldn't have to face this stuff. It's in students are talking about how 7, 8, 9 years old, they're made to feel ashamed of their bodies, of their hair, of their heritage, and that's not okay. We need to find ways to address that effectively. Now, some of their solutions for that, I don't know. I'm not sure it actually dismantles things in a way that's going to, or addresses things in a way that's going to lead to more effective outcomes. A lot of it's, they want to hire more diversity officers and create diversity committees. And okay.
Well, and I think we see this in every big government solution. The first thing that people say, part of this is a culture that we've created, which is government is here to protect you, government is here to fix all your problems, and government's here to provide for you. So when people who grow up in that instance, in that mindset, which I think for many of us, that's the environment we start in. And of course, the first thing, like we've talked about so many times on this show, when somebody comes up with a solution, the solution is start a committee, form a commission, hire this person here. And, we've been through this so many times. We know what that really means, which is spend a lot of taxpayer dollars. And usually that job or that contract or that commission goes to some elected person's friend, family member, business acquaintance, something. Somebody benefits generously on the taxpayer dime. And then what we see at the end of the day is no real change. In fact, sometimes all we see is just a report finding the things that we already knew were a problem. And then
but at least we spent a bunch of money on it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Guys, you're listening to Radio Free New York. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about this. Let's talk about maybe what there could be in terms of real solutions. We'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Now, more than twice the power.
WYSL.
More powerful FM 92.1, FM 95.5 West, and 1040 AM WYSL Avon Rochester.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, warmer, more humid out there. We'll stay in the 70s. Wednesday, more of a partly cloudy sky, still up around 90 degrees. A little more humid, chance of a shower or thunderstorm. Very hot and humid weather in the mid-90s Thursday and Friday. I'm Rich Cornelia on WYSL.
At Victor Chevrolet, we want you to know we are here for your transportation needs. Our factory-trained specialist in the Victor Service Department can expertly handle any repair. Our concierge service can arrange for pickup and delivery of your vehicle if you choose. We are here for repairs, maintenance, inspections, warranty work, and recalls. Victor Chevrolet can help no matter where you bought your car or truck. And if you need a new vehicle, Victor can sell you a car virtually on our website, victorchevrolet.com, or by appointment at our store. Call 869-6196. Trade-ins, financing, leasing. They're all available remotely and at your convenience. We're here to fully serve Chevy customers in Victor, Canandaigua, Macedon, Fairport, and throughout the Metro and Finger Lakes. Depend on Victor Chevrolet, here for you with sales or any service issue, no matter where you bought your vehicle. Give us a call at 869-6196 or visit victorchevrolet.com. You can depend on the team at Victor Chevy for all your transportation needs, now and in the future.
In honor of the late Pat McGrath, a well-known singer and songwriter from upstate New York and a true friend of Camp Good Days, Lou Graham has donated a guitar signed by past and present members of Foreigner. This guitar will be raffled off to raise money for Camp Good Days. The funds from this raffle will go directly towards renovating the music activity hut at Camp Good Days recreational facility on Cuke Lake. The hut will be rededicated in memory of Pat McGrath. Raffle tickets are 1 for $10 or 3 for $20. The winner will be announced at the Music Hut rededication at Camp Good Days on a date to be announced. Visit campgooddays.org or call Camp at 624-5555 for more information.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Show World. Show World. Mount Read, Henrietta, Waterloo. 8 a.m. to midnight, Monday through Saturday. Sunday, 12 to 12. 1212 open. Welcome in. We're open up. DVDs, magazines, incense, water pipes, adult products, lingerie.
Show World now open.
Here's to looking forward, to resilience, brighter days, and support when it's needed most. Like sharing $20 million with members right now. It's more than a thank you. It's giving back to help our community thrive. Because with ESL, you're part of something bigger. You're our partner in growing Greater Rochester. Get details about the ESL Owner's Dividend at esl.org. Qualification for the owner's dividend and membership is subject to eligibility. Payment of a dividend is not guaranteed.
All Seasons Wine and Spirits, East Main Street in Avon, has a great selection of the newest and flavored liquors. Try Blue Toad, Raspberry Blueberry Cider. Open daily 9 to 9, Sundays noon to 9. All Seasons Wine and Spirits.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We've got Kevin Wilson here. We were just talking about Kevin's experience over the weekend. There was a BLM rally, and it sounds like the purpose of this rally was to raise awareness about segregation in the local school districts. Is that a good summary, or was there more to that, Kevin?
That's generally what the point of the rally was. So again, I went to listen, to talk to folks, to kind of see what people were saying about this issue, because, I get that it's a thing, right? I get that people are concerned about segregation, and people are concerned about educational outcomes, particularly the educational outcomes that are pretty poor in the city school district, and, of course, I don't talk about this, but I'm running for office, and that's one of the issues I talk about, is education. Well, their solution to that, though, of course, is, as we talked about, they want to hire diversity officers. They want to have an anti-racism task force. They have had, listening sessions, although the activists here felt that that wasn't adequate to address the needs, and they felt like the voices of black individuals was being silenced in that process. And I don't know enough about what was going on specifically in Brighton to know if that's legitimate or not. But they do want mandatory, educational training on these issues too, which, could be good or not. I guess really the effectiveness of that is really dependent on what kind of educational training that they're providing. It could be good, or it could be struggle sessions where people are just languishing over the religion of being woke.
Sure. Well, I think though that at what you're describing, I think could be an opportunity for common ground. And here's why. So if BLM and the community that supports them and the people who came to this rally and other people who hear about it and hear the numbers and many of us too who have seen the city school district fail year after year after year, if one of the things that they're pushing for is that they want to add curriculum to the school in terms of teaching what discrimination is, maybe, or discussing segregation. Well, everything's controlled top down here in New York, which means that's going to have to go through the governor. That's going to have to go through an alteration in Common Core. So maybe it's an opportunity for people to get together and say, hey, you want to see changes in the education system? We have to dismantle Common Core. We have to get the state out of controlling education so that you can have a say in the Rochester City School District, so you can have a say in the curriculum that's being taught to your kids. And that doesn't just extend to this issue. That extends to every other issue in education. So I don't know. I feel like that's a conversation that could start building a bridge to making some serious change here in New York.
I thought the same thing. Of course, you kind of expect.
You don't like big government either, Kevin. Come on.
Well, I thought we're on the same page. I heard some of the criticisms of the students there, and they said, "Hey, we were taught the Civil War was about ending slavery initially, and that's really not what it was about. We thought that the South had seceded to protect states' rights, and as these young students dug into the historical issues deeper, they said, "Oh, maybe that's not so true," right? Or they were taught a certain process of, like segregation. Like, how did that work in America's cities in the late 19th and early 20th century that they thought didn't adequately address the government's role in helping to facilitate that process and enforce that process and the violence that went with it. And, they felt that African American history, from a positive point of view, wasn't taught effectively. Okay, and I can see that criticism of the Common Core history curriculum. Fine. My solution to that, and I think you'd probably be along the same route, is like, well, we need to find ways for students to be able to explore those issues on their own, outside of the established school curriculum, to be able to connect with teachers from anywhere, either in other districts in the area or digitally, to be able to do a deep dive into some of those other aspects of history while still understanding the important parts of learning history, which is gathering evidence and building a narrative. Now, of course, I brought this up with one of the organizers of the rally, a woman named Robin Wilt, who was running in the Democratic primary for the New York 25th Congressional District, and she did not win. She
would have been your opponent then, right?
Would have been my opponent.
Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
if she had won the primary. So I found her and I started talking to her, and I was like, I agree. Government caused man these things. What can we do about it? And she had mentioned, she said that we should make bigger districts, which I'm not sure that necessarily solves the problem, because I think Rochester would probably still end up being its own district, but that's neither here nor there. And I mentioned, like, are there ways for students to be, and parents to be able to connect to other outside resources that the school district either can't or won't provide, and shouldn't parents have more choice in the type of educational program that the students are getting? Oh, well, that's where she got defensive. That she said, no, absolutely not. Charter schools have failed. Every charter school has failed. And I was like, every charter school has failed? Everyone? Well, statistically,
did you ask her if every city school has failed?
Oh yeah, that's what I followed up with. I was like, well, a lot of public schools are failing. Like, we're looking at what's going on in Rochester, and she's like, well, that's because of segregation. I was like, yeah, but like, a lot of students and families in Rochester want to check out these charter schools because they might provide a better opportunity for those students to learn and thrive than the school that they're being told to go to, which oftentimes is across the city, hard to get to, and doesn't perform well. Where they can get a charter school in their neighborhood that does marginally better. And again, I'm not married to the idea of charter schools. I just think that I understand why parents want to look at those. Because it's a better alternative than the public schools that they're being assigned to.
Well, what's really interesting too, and people may or may not know this, the way the city school district works specifically is the city school district has multiple high schools. You basically apply to get into those high schools. You give them their top 3, and then they place you by whatever criteria that they have, and that doesn't. It gives you like the kind of like the illusion of choice, but they really put you wherever, and you don't even necessarily get into the school that you're hoping to get into. So it's definitely interesting. It's more interesting that the idea is, a bigger district, when I wonder if she would be the type, and people who maybe think, I've heard this same thing very often, that Monroe County should just be one school district.
Yeah.
Those same people, I do wonder, do they oppose something like a voucher system, where you have a voucher and you can just go to whatever school, let's call it in the state, that you want to go to. You present your voucher and you're allowed in there. To me, that's almost a better system. I know there's a lot of logistics to figure out, but then people would be able to compete to get into the schools that they want to get into. Now, I'm sure the argument could be made that, well, the school only accept the best, which will lead to another form of segregation where, low-performing students are going to end up in low-performing schools anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine that's what the argument ends up being. But again, wouldn't that be a better solution for many students than what we have now by expanding choices? And again, my idea is that you don't even have to be limited to the geography of Monroe County, how can we connect with educators from anywhere to be able to build curriculums that meet a student's interests and needs at the time, right? Like going to, if you live in Parrington and there's a good school option in Rochester, that's great if you have the transportation to get there, and vice versa. If you're a Rochester State student and you want to go to a Brighton school and you have the way to get there, that's cool. And I think that would certainly mix some things up. But again, I don't think it's thinking big enough. And I think adding that with private options, with schools competing against one another, I think it would be a good thing. I think it would be a better thing than what we have now. And I know it's not going to work perfect for every single student, but my goodness, we can't compare ourselves to the perfection that progressives imagine public schools to be, because they ain't. They're failing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think, and I talked about this in the past. I'll have to see if I could find the episode about how we have the technology today. We have the opportunity today. We could actually implement amazing changes in these districts while leveraging technology, remote learning, and even AI to determine exactly what a child's needs are, how they learn, and then match them with a teacher who teaches in that style and understands that kid's needs.
Exactly. They're cool, innovative ways to do this. Outside of government bureaucrats dictating every single part of education.
Yep, no, absolutely. All right, guys, you're listening to Radio Free New York. We're going to carry this conversation on into the last segment here. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Aircraft Environmental Systems proudly supports Radio Free New York. Rochester-based leaders in climate simulation chambers for America's R&D laboratories. We're experts in troubleshooting, calibrations, custom designs, and consulting for more than 40 years. Industry pioneers, we created the first ever fleet of temperature, humidity, and altitude test chambers available to rent coast to coast. Trained and trusted by environmental chamber manufacturers, we are ACES. Find us at acesinc.com.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We've got Kevin Wilson here with us. We're talking about the BLM rally that happened over the weekend in Rochester. And Kevin, it sounds like there's some other policy proposals that were brought up or points of view.
Yeah, I mean, besides not being able to talk to folks about what I thought were very reasonable solutions to give more options for African American students living in the city and suffering under the public school system, there's some other stuff in there that I think is a little bit more agreeable, which is if there are incidents of racism in a school district, they're asking the Brighton School District to document those and be transparent about them. Okay,
Seems
fair enough.
reasonable. Yep.
Yeah, it's easy enough. And then they also want to look at the code of conduct as well. A lot of codes of conduct are positioned to, punish students in a way that detracts from that student's education and not merely make sure that a problem is removed from a classroom when they're being disruptive to the entire learning process. And that's, that's complicated. I'm not a teacher, but, I have heard criticism and I've seen instances of this happen where African American students allegedly in many classrooms face more of these punishments under the code of conduct than their white peers, and understanding how that process reflects on their education and their ability to learn and feel safe in the classroom is important. I think that's fair enough to look at, right?
So it sounds like what's being said is that maybe there's maybe a rubric for punishment doesn't exist. I don't know. I kind of would think that there would, because teachers like rubrics and all that. So one would think that the school would have one, but maybe not. But that maybe people are being kind of let slid through, whereas minorities not so much. So there's like an unequal application of punishment as a result. Yeah,
and that's how it kind of goes. And I get sometimes you're going to have to do things a little bit differently. Like, I like restorative justice models, right? Like, me being the hippie I am, apparently. Like, all right, like if a student gets in a fight with another student, I don't think the right answer is always send them to OSS, or suspend them, right? Sometimes the right answer is find a way for those students to make up with each other and to make it right, to make them whole, right? Find a way to build reconciliation rather than, all right, we're just going to send this student home for a week. I get that that's sometimes the case. And a lot of schools do try to do this, but, there's zero tolerance policies in place where, dumb hormone-filled boys do dumb things out of outrage and end up kind of screwing up their entire educational process instead of giving the help that they need to manage their issues or to fix a problem that they caused. If they break something, okay, how can that student pay for that, or whatever, do something to make it right. And I think we kind of lose that in some of the school process. I know some teachers try to do it, but...
And I think this speaks to another thing about our education system now, which is the fact that our education system is not preparing students for life. And part of that is I don't think the education system was ever meant to do that. The education system was meant to educate, and parents were supposed to prepare their children for life. But that hasn't been happening for decades. So now we have people asking the education system to handle the parenting, but the education system doesn't align with real-world scenarios. So that idea that two kids who get into a fight are just immediately punished, or maybe one punished more than the other, doesn't align with the fact that in life you need mediation. And we literally have mediators that people hire and courts that do mediation and all this other stuff. Instead, what we're teaching students is you get into a fight and the problem goes away, maybe with a timeout, which just doesn't match to real life. It doesn't teach the skill they need.
No, those soft skills that students need to learn, like the emotional skills that students need to learn, that I think are almost more important in many ways than some of the academic skills, like for thriving in the workplace, is how do you interact with people in a positive way. In a lot of classrooms, that's shut down, right? Like there's like no talking, obey the rules, follow the curriculum, rote memorization. That's what it is. And I know before teachers get mad, I know that's not what it's like in every classroom, but it's what it's like in some classrooms. So students don't learn those skills to interact with people, to address conflict. You just have this outside force, this teacher who's trying to, or an administrator who's trying to address all those problems for you. And you need to find ways to navigate those conflicts, on the playground, on the basketball court, in the hallways, in a way that's productive for you. I'm not saying no intervention when someone's getting hurt. I'm just saying some of those soft skills, because the school sets up an environment where they have a lot of control, end up never being learned in the first place.
Yeah,
in addition to all the...
It almost relates to over-policing in the school itself, where, they take so much control over the situation that the students do not get the opportunity to learn appropriate interactions when there's a problem with inappropriate interactions.
Yeah, exactly. So, how do you do that, right? If parents are outsourcing their soft skill teaching ability to schools, and schools don't allow the freedom to be able to learn those skills in the first place, we're ending up with adults who may or may not have memorized a curriculum but don't have any other functional adult skills after that. So in college or in the workforce, they need remedial education to get back up to the point of being functional.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the other thing it takes away is kind of that critical thinking skill, that, idea of identifying a problem and then coming up with your own solution to resolve that problem. And I would agree, the way we do testing has made education turn into more of a memorization game than a problem-solving game. And even to the point where, like, I'll give math as an example. With the way Common Core math is taught, they want students to show their work in a specific way for full credit. Well, guess what? A lot of us learn math a very different way. And we can arrive to the same answer, and being very biased with the way I do it, I think it's a lot more efficient. I think it's more accurate, that's me. And if a student shows that they arrive to the answer in a correct way, but different than the school wants them to arrive there, they lose points on their work.
They do.
So you actually, in school, could be punished for coming up with a more efficient and accurate way of doing things, yet lose credit and technically be punished and taught that in life being efficient and intelligent and making your own decisions actually harms you instead of helps you.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have time to get into it. I had plenty of experiences like that in school where, but hey, well, what about this? It seems like based on the evidence that this should be the answer, and here's how I got to it. And they're like, well, that's not what the book says, so no points.
Yeah,
that's where our school's teaching.
It's a terrible environment for any child to grow up in, and I think that carries on to a lot of issues, especially with work ethics in the future. Guys, thank you so much for joining us here on Radio Free New York. We're going to be back same time, same place tomorrow.